Good evening and welcome to TV47 Prime. It's always a pleasure to have you with us as we bring you the latest news and the stories behind the headlines. I'm Peter Kamau. Our side interpreter is Rhoda Nyamai. Let's get started. The National Cohesion and Integration Commission, NCIC, has launched separate investigations into remarks attributed to several political leaders, including former Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua, Health Cabinet Secretary Aden Duale, and Public Service Cabinet Secretary Geoffrey Ruku. The Commission says the probes will determine whether the statements breach laws on national cohesion and incitement. This report was prepared by Alvin Kithinji.
The National Cohesion and Integration Commission, NCIC, has launched independent investigations into utterances made by several leaders, including Democracy for the Citizens Party leader Rigathi Gachagua, Health Cabinet Secretary Aden Duale, Public Service Cabinet Secretary Geoffrey Ruku, Busia Governor Paul Otuoma, Mandera Deputy Governor Ali Maalim, Sirisia Member of Parliament John Waluke, Wanjiku Mohia, David Gikaria, Tipape Naini Musa, and Dr. Dennis Addison Ouma.
No individual, regardless of office or standing, is beyond the reach of the law where credible allegations of hate speech or ethnic incitement arise.
The Commission says the investigations are part of its mandate to promote national unity and address speech that could threaten peaceful coexistence. The NCIC is seeking to establish whether the statements made by the leaders cross legal or constitutional thresholds on hate speech and incitement.
Every person carries their own cross. For the record, we remind all Kenyans from all walks of life that crime is committed individually and is a personal responsibility. No community, no region, or group should be held collectively responsible or accountable for the alleged conduct of an individual.
The move comes as Kenya inches closer to another election cycle, with the political space under scrutiny over the language used by leaders seeking to rally support and shape public opinion. The scrutiny comes at a time when political statements have increasingly taken center stage, with leaders being accused of using utterances that could reinforce divisions along ethnic, regional, and political lines.
Tunaambia wanasiasa wafanye siasa yao, wapige siasa yao kulingana na ile utaratibu ambao umetolewa.
Democracy for the Citizens Party leader Rigathi Gachagua has defended his recent kuua nyoka na mayai yake remarks, saying they were figurative, and urged the National Cohesion and Integration Commission not to classify his statement as hate speech. Gachagua maintains that his message was purely political.
We speak in figurative language. Sisi tunasema kuua nyoka ni kufukuza William Ruto kwa kura. Kuua nyoka pamoja na mayai ni kufukuza wale wote wanatembea na Ruto kupitia kura. Kwa sababu sisi we speak in proverbs, we speak in symbolism and in figurative language for effective communication.
NCIC says it will continue monitoring political rhetoric, insisting that it will pursue every case without fear or favor.
From that, we move to another story where Kenya's public debt has climbed to 12.82 trillion Kenya shillings, with Auditor General Margaret Nyakango warning that the country is approaching unsustainable borrowing levels. Appearing before the National Assembly's Public Petitions Committee, Nyakango said up to 70% of government revenue is now going towards debt repayment. She also called for amendments to the Public Finance Management Act to require the National Treasury to publish comprehensive public debt data.
Young people actually do not want the country to borrow at all. That is, I would call it, is a nice wish. But we are at a point where we have already borrowed a lot. And by a lot, I mean trillions. We are now, according to our latest report, at 12.82 trillion in total borrowing. Out of that figure, about 60% is domestic and 40% is external. So what is the impact of that over borrowing? The impact is that up to 71% of the revenues that we collect goes to loan repayment. So when that happens, it leaves us with 29% to do the rest of the expenditure that we would like to do. And that involves both recurrent and development. So if you look at the kind of budget that we prepare, and you look at, say, 30% of that money, you will find that we surely cannot survive within that 30%.
Victims of the Finland and Canada Overseas Education Program have staged protest in Eldoret, demanding accountability and the refund of their money after a court dismissed the case against Uasin Gishu Senator Jackson Mandago. The protesters say they are disappointed by the ruling and have vowed to continue their pursuit of justice until their funds are recovered. Michelle Mwangi now reports.
A wave of disappointment swept through Eldoret after victims of the Finland and Canada education program took to the streets demanding for justice and the return of their money. As they held different kinds of placards, the affected families say the dismissal of charges against Uasin Gishu Senator Jackson Mandago has deepened their concerns over whether they'll ever recover their funds.
I paid my money after the ruling. Wanatuambia ati hii pesa ilitumiwa kulipia mtoto mwingine. This is my question. Where did they get this consent ya kutoa pesa yangu walipia mtoto mwingine?
These leaders were trusted 100%. To the extent that we are paying this money, 1.2 million, which it is not a pocket change, into this account, trustee account, showed that we trust them. Ironically, these are the individuals who have embezzled our money.
For the victims, the court's decision may have offered Senator Mandago legal relief, but it has left them with unresolved questions over the fate of their money and the justice they have been pursuing.
Pesa zetu wamelipia watoto wengine. Alafu sisi tutafanya nini? Mtoto mwingine anatoa hajatoa hata pesa kidogo hata wanalipia wengine. Hiyo imetufanya uchungu kusai kwa kaunti ya Uasin Gishu.
Their search for answers led them to the Uasin Gishu County government offices, where they hoped to have an audience with Governor Jonathan B. in order to understand the county's position on the matter. But their efforts hit a dead end after they were denied access into the offices, forcing them to take their grievances to the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission (EACC).
And we've been turned away by a mere statement that whatever we are pursuing is beyond their jurisdiction.
At the EACC offices, the victims were once again left without the clarity they were seeking. They now insist their push for answers will continue, promising more demonstrations until their concerns are addressed.
They only understand Mandaman. And if this is the route that they want, we are going to take them this route. We assure them. And we are not going to relent.
I want my money. Michelle Mwangi, TV47.
In other news this evening, President William Ruto has unveiled plans to overhaul Kenya's university funding system through a new law that would guarantee government financial support for all students admitted to public universities and colleges. The proposal seeks to replace the current needs-based model with a unified system designed to eliminate funding delays, improve efficiency, and expand equitable access to higher education.
In fact, our ICT academy such as networking, cloud computing. Within the minds gathered here, 6 ideas capable of transforming our nations and how.
Our objective is to build an ecosystem where education, research, innovation, entrepreneurship, and industry reinforce one another. We have amendments to the Higher Education Loans Board program. Again, that will now make it possible. And I said, before, I will repeat again. It will now make it possible for every student placed in our TVETs and in our universities to get full funding for their courses.
Elsewhere, women leaders are demanding safer, fairer and more inclusive political spaces as the country moves closer to the next general election. Speaking at the Women Achievers Conference and Awards in Nairobi, they called on the government to curb political violence, protect women from intimidation and remove the barriers that continue to keep many out of elective leadership. Susan Locho reports.
As political temperatures continue to rise ahead of another election cycle, women leaders say violence, intimidation and personal attacks remain some of the biggest barriers preventing more women from participating in elective politics.
We bring together women and allies from Africa who believe that the future of our continent will be shaped by leadership, innovation, resilience and collective action of African women.
They argue that beyond physical safety, women in politics deserve dignity and respect, noting that female politicians are often subjected to gender-based insult, harassment and heightened scrutiny.
They are scared of the scrutiny. They are scared of their private lives being left open. They are worried about the names they call you. You know, have you ever discovered something when they want to attack a woman and they will always say they'll say she's a prostitute?
The conference also emphasized the role of political goodwill in advancing women's participation in leadership.
A woman without money is a servant. You have to ask for permission for everything and you have to sit as if you don't know even tomorrow exists, simply because you have no money. So your economic empowerment is important to us as women achievers. Women drive 50% of job creation through SMEs, yet only 2% are considered bankable.
Meanwhile, speakers described the late Raila Odinga as a strong champion of women's leadership, crediting his decision to provide women with direct opportunities within ODM as one of the factors that contributed to the party's consistent election of more women into public office.
If you think of how many women he has managed to have elected in single constituencies, it's quite a number. He was the lady of Ruangwe, Gogo. He gave her a direct ticket. Because once he gives you the direct ticket of ODM, you're guaranteed of winning the seat. Gladys Wanga also, he gave her direct ticket. Hence the reason why she's governor today.
As the country prepares for another election cycle, participants are calling on political parties, government institutions and society at large to create safer, fairer and more inclusive spaces where women can seek leadership without fear and complete an equal footing. Susan Locho for TV47. Nairobi.
Let's take you to Parliament, where a symbolic matatu ride to Parliament by newly sworn-in Ol-Kalou MP Sami Ngodo has sparked a debate over parliamentary decorum after his supporters, dressed in party colours, escorted him to the National Assembly. The display prompted Speaker Moses Wetangula to remind members that the House must remain above partisan shows of political affiliation. Andrine Kilemi with that report.
From the streets of Ol-Kalou to the floor of the National Assembly, Ol-Kalou Member of Parliament-elect Sami Ngodo chose an unconventional journey to his swearing-in ceremony, boarding a matatu to Nairobi before walking to Parliament alongside Democracy for Citizens Party members, led by Secretary General John Methu. The procession sought to portray the newly elected legislature as a leader whose rise reflects the journey of ordinary Kenyans.
I'm finally here. Chokora amefika town.
Moments later, Ngodo took the oath of office, officially assuming his role as the Member of Parliament for Ol-Kalou.
I, Sami Douglas Kamau Waweru, having been elected a member of the National Assembly, do swear in the name of the Almighty God that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the people and the Republic of Kenya, that I will obey, respect, uphold, preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution of the Republic of Kenya, and that I will faithfully and conscientiously discharge the duties of a member of parliament. So help me God.
But the political symbolism that marked his arrival soon spilled into the House, with the signature green attire donned by DCP allied leaders, drawing objections over parliamentary decorum.
If there was only one member showing up in a certain color in the House, then we would have taken it to be the member's wardrobe. However, we are seeing a gang of 13 members of parliament, Mr. Speaker, who are donning party insignia on the floor of the House, Mr. Speaker.
Order, Honorable KJ, order.
The objections drew a response from National Assembly Speaker Moses Wetangula, who warned that lawmakers wearing party colors risk being ejected from the House in future.
From today onwards, unless it's such a special occasion, we do not entertain party uniforms in the House. And you know that is part of our standing orders.
The Matatu ride and the political symbolism may have dominated the swearing in of Ol-Kalou Member of Parliament Sami Ngodho, but that ends here. The National Assembly now becomes his place of work, where he is expected to represent the people of Ol-Kalou and deliver on the promises that earned him a seat in Parliament. Andrin Kilemi, TV47 from the Parliament buildings.
Thank you, Andrin Kilemi, for that report. Now, Deputy President Kithure Kindiki has dismissed reports of a fallout with President William Ruto, terming claims that he has been stripped of key government responsibilities as false and misleading. The denial follows widespread social media claims that President Ruto had transferred the responsibility of coordinating national and county government affairs to Prime Cabinet Secretary Musalia Mudavadi. Even as the speculation continues, Kindiki maintains that nothing has changed, while his critics insist the developments reflect growing political tensions within the Kenya Kwanza administration. Apollo Kamau reports.
Deputy President Kithure Kindiki fended off claims of a fallout with President William Ruto after chairing a high-level government meeting on preparations for the multi-billion shilling East African oil refinery project, a responsibility assigned to him by the president.
This is not entirely a Kenyan project. It's an international project involving regional partners, involving foreign investors, and therefore is sensitive and delicate, but yet it is crucial.
The move coming a day after reports emerged claiming some of his key duties had been taken over by Prime Cabinet Secretary Musalia Mudavadi.
So that we can have this project to create jobs, to create a petrochemical hub for our region, to cushion our economies from oil price spikes.
On Monday, Kindiki pushed back against the claims, dismissing the reports as fake in a post on his social media platforms. On Tuesday, the Deputy President maintained that nothing had changed, insisting he remains fully engaged in his official responsibilities. Despite Kindiki's confidence that all is well as he resumed his official duties, his predecessor and DCP party leader Rigathi Gachagua has raised questions over his position.
Arambe!
While on a tour of Meru County, Gachagua warned Kindiki, alleging that the ODM party was being used by President William Ruto to undermine his position and push for his removal from office.
I told Professor Kindiki, don't dance on the grave of your brother, because siku moja pia utapata shida. Sasa huyu Kindiki amepangiwa. Hii watu ya ODM wanamtukana asubuhi na mapema. Ati huyu Junet anatangaza ati wako na deputy president mwingine na Kindiki yako kwa kiti. Na Ruto hasiongea. Huyu Junet akiongea ametumwa na Ruto.
The political speculation intensified after Suna East MP Junet Mohamed, while welcoming Cooperatives Cabinet Secretary Wycliffe Oparanya in Kakamega County on Sunday, referred to Oparanya as the incoming deputy president, a remark that caused unease among Kindiki's allies in the broad-based administration.
Sasa, nataka kuchukua nafasi hii kualika the incoming deputy president of the Republic of Kenya, Wycliffe Oparanya.
Kindiki's political future remains closely tied to his standing in the Mount Kenya region, with his failure to deliver the Ol-Kalou vote cited by critics as a weakness that has left him politically exposed.
If the president is thinking the way I am, he has no choice but to retain Kindiki. And the reason why I'm saying he has no choice is because I know that the moment he is with Kindiki, he is able to tell the lawyers that ukiingia nitamutoa niweke nyinyi. He is able to tell the ODM wing of Oginga Odinga that tukiingia namutoa naweka nyinyi. He is able to tell people from the coast, Kinanjo and the company, that nikiingia nitamutoa niweke nyinyi. He has 3 of them on a leash. Lakini akichoose one of those 3, he loses the other 2 entirely.
Kamau, TV47.
Still on matters politics, Democracy for the Citizens Party leader Rigathi Gachagua has stepped up his campaign to consolidate support across the Mount Kenya region, insisting that efforts to split the region politically will not succeed. His remarks come as the battle for the influential Mount Kenya vote intensifies ahead of the 2027 general election, with both the ruling coalition and the opposition seeking to win over the region. Gachagua maintains that Mount Kenya remains united and will speak with one voice when the country heads to the polls. Joash Onsare reports.
Democracy for the Citizens Party leader Rigathi Gachagua has continued to rally support in Meru County, insisting that the Mount Kenya region remains united ahead of the 2027 general election.
Unaweza kubali tugawanye mlima? Hii mlima Kenya hapana mpaka. Mlima ni jamii, mlima ni sisi. Tangu zamani tumekuwa kitu kimoja. Waembu na Wameru na Wakikuyu hatuwezi wachana.
Gashagua's remarks come in the wake of calls from a section of Mount Kenya East leaders, including Public Service Cabinet Secretary Geoffrey Ruku, who have suggested that the region should be politically divided into 2 blocks.
Nimefika hapa Meru na nilikuwa Embu baada ya kupata ripoti ya kwamba Kasongo ametuma waziri anaitwa Roko azunguke huko akipiganisha watu ya mlima Kenya.
Speaking on the final day of his tour of Meru County, Gachagua vowed to resist any attempts by leaders from within or outside the region to create divisions among the people of Mount Kenya, maintaining that regional unity remains his key priority.
Mimi nimejitolea, hata kama ni kukufa, hata kama ni kuangaishwa, hata kama ni kufungwa jela, nitalinda heshima ya wakaaji wa mlima Kenya na maisha yangu, na sitakubali mtu yeyote aangaishe jamii yetu.
The political activities in the region highlight the intensifying contest for Mount Kenya's influential voting bloc of more than 6.5 million voters.
Mogeni kaere! Bwana Yesu asifiwe! Hebu munisalimie wani nione watu zangu watu wa Meru.
Which is expected to play a critical role in the 2027 general election.
Mlima ni mo? Kiongozi ni mo?
Joash Onsare, TV47.
Now, Kenya's long-standing shisha ban has suffered a major legal blow after the High Court ruled that its continued enforcement is unlawful. The court found that the Public Health Control of Shisha Smoking Rules 2017 ceased to have legal effect after the government failed to regularize the regulations within the timelines previously set by the court. The decision now raises questions about the legal basis of the ban and the government's next course of action. Chichi Josephine reports.
In a judgment delivered on Tuesday, Justice Bahati Mwamuye found that the Public Health Control of Shisha Smoking Rules 2017 ceased to have legal effect after the government failed to regularize the regulations within the period granted by the court. The judge held that the regulations expired 9 months after a July 26, 2018 High Court decision that had identified procedural flaws in the manner the rules were enacted. The court had temporarily allowed the regulations to remain in force to give the government an opportunity to correct the defects. Justice Mwamuye noted that the state never complied with the court's directive, rendering the 2017 regulations unenforceable. The court also dismissed arguments that the petition had been filed too late, ruling that the association had the legal standing to challenge the ban on behalf of its members and that the case had been brought within a reasonable time. Chichi, Josephine, TV47.
In other news, global health experts are warning that years of progress in the fight against HIV could be reversed as international funding continues to shrink. UNAIDS says global HIV financing fell by 18% to $7.3 billion in 2025, the lowest level in almost 2 decades, raising fears of a resurgence of the epidemic. The agency warns that millions of new infections could be recorded by the end of the decade if the funding gap is not addressed. Elizabeth Atieno with that report.
Within the first 6 months of 2026 alone, Kenya has reported 13,936 new HIV infections. Nairobi County is leading in the rate of infections, followed by Homa Bay, Kisumu, Siaya, and Migori counties.
Whereas 65% of the people who are living with HIV today are women, the death rates between women and men are almost 50-50.
In 2025, 1.2 million more people became infected with HIV and 570,000 more people died of AIDS-related illnesses as the world fell short of global targets. A recent report by UNAIDS in the ongoing 26th International AIDS Conference in Brazil shows that more than 3 million more people could become infected with HIV by 2030.
But we have not come to Rio to mourn what is at risk. We have come to defend it and to build what comes next. That's the meaning of the theme of this conference: rethink, rebuild, rise.
Globally, around 9 million of the 41 million people living with HIV are not on treatment, and almost half of all children living with HIV did not have access to antiretroviral therapy in 2025. A similar situation is witnessed in Kenya, where the initiation of pre-exposure prophylaxis PrEP has stalled at 39%, with a sharp drop of 18,771 in the uptake witnessed between 2024 and 2025. According to a report by the National Syndemic Diseases Control Council, NSDCC, this drop is largely attributed to poor demand creation, lack of adherence to the medication, and oral pill fatigue, with the uptake of oral PrEP currently at 42%.
New infections and AIDS-related deaths have dropped dramatically, testing and treatment have expanded, and new technologies, including long-acting injectables, offer huge potential. But it also shows how quickly that progress can be reversed by funding cuts, by emergencies, by inequalities.
UNAIDS estimates that 20 million people need access to pre-exposure prophylaxis to have a real impact in stopping new HIV infections.
WHO will keep accelerating access to innovation, from long-acting prevention and treatment to new diagnostics, digital tools, and better data.
International financing for HIV from multiple countries declined by more than $1.5 billion from $8.8 billion in 2024 to $7.3 billion in 2025, an 18% reduction and the lowest level in nearly 2 decades. Additionally, funding for condoms has been cut by more than 90% in some countries. Elizabeth Atieno, TV47, Nairobi.
Thank you, Elizabeth Atieno, for that report. Now, let's pause for a short commercial break. See you soon.
All right, listen up. Koala Cake is on a mission. It's kind of a big thing. Colgate Herbal uses traditional nature's herbs and combines it with Colgate Science for healthy gums and strong teeth.
Colgate Charcoal Gentle Clean cleans and polishes teeth for a whiter smile and a naturally fresh and clean mouth. Choose natural. Choose Colgate Charcoal.
We love to share our cultures, and the one thing that unites us all, that celebrates precious moments, nurtures our Kenyan spirit, welcomes, and even inspires. Our language does all of this and more. The more the milk, the better the chai. Chai kweli ina Brookside Dairy Best.
Mimi nasema ugali ya Lea haikuwangi complicated. Ukienda kwa duka tu, ukienda kwa supa tu, kwa afya bora ya jamii ungapoa ni Lea tu.
Guys, hamwezeni wait?
Bei ya Lea Premium, si complicated. Kupika Lea Premium, si complicated. Unabai, unapika, unashiba. Lea Premium.
Lea Premium Flour, nurturing the world. Available in a store near you.
Welcome back. You're watching TV47 Prime. Uganda has once again been declared Ebola-free after successfully containing an outbreak of the Bundibugyo strain that infected 20 people and claimed 2 lives. The announcement by the country's health minister marks another public health milestone for Uganda, which has battled several Ebola outbreaks since its first major epidemic in 2000. Health officials attribute the success to rapid detection, effective response systems, and years of experience in managing the deadly disease.
Uganda has defeated this outbreak because of the strong investments the government has made over the years in building resilient public health systems. Our ability to quickly detect cases, trace and monitor contacts, provide quality treatment, strengthen laboratory services, and work closely with communities ensured that the outbreak was rapidly brought under control. This achievement also reflects the commitment and professionalism of our frontline health workers, the vigilance of communities, and the close collaboration between government, local leaders, security agencies, and partners. And we
The Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission, IEBC, has warned of possible violence during the 2027 general elections. Speaking in Machakos town, IEBC Commissioner Alutalala Mukwana raised concerns over what he described as declining public trust in the electoral body, warning that political rhetoric and mistrust could threaten a peaceful election process.
Ikiwa sifa na heshima ya tume huru haitalindwa na italindwa na nyinyi, tukikosa tuambieni tumekosa. Lakini tukifanya mazuri tuambieni tumefanya mazuri. So ikiwa heshima na imani ya raia itabomolewa kabisa katika tume, wakati mwaka 2027 tutakapokuja na kura zifanywe, hakuna atakayeshinda, wale wengine hawatokubali, na anayeshindwa pia hatokubali. Matokeo yatakuwa ni kwamba kutakuwa na fujo katika taifa.
In other news, weather forecast of El Nino rains expected later this year. UGM party leader David Maraga is urging the government to move early and strengthen disaster preparedness measures. Maraga says lessons from past climate-related emergencies should guide planning to protect farmers, vulnerable families, and communities at risk. He is calling for support measures including crop drying facilities for farmers, stronger county emergency response systems, and dignified relocation plans for families living in vulnerable areas. Maraga also wants accountability in disaster management, warning leaders against exploiting emergencies for political or personal gain.
The severe phenomenon that has been nicknamed
Godzilla El Nino has an 8 in 10 a chance of sweeping this region from October this year to early next year. This is not a horoscope. It is a warning that has been in the public domain for months, but the government of Kenya is not paying attention. We would have expected that the budget this year would have been very, very specific. But you saw what the CS was saying last night. When asked, he was just guessing, talking about 10 billion and saying, look, this is a huge sum of money. I don't know where we are going to get it from. When, a few months back, they had more than 14 billion shillings that they spent in Olkalau.
After years of deadly crashes at the Duka Moja Black Spot in Narok East, church leaders are urging the government to take urgent action and expand the Mai Mahiu Ntulele Road to help save lives. The clergy from Kekonyokie ward made the plea after holding prayers and a cleansing ceremony at the accident-prone area where they remembered victims of road crashes. They are calling for separate lanes for heavy trucks and buses, saying the mixing of large vehicles with other road users has contributed to frequent accidents along the route. The leaders also want special crossing areas for livestock to reduce accidents caused by animal movement.
Hiyo yetu siku ya leo tukiwa wachungaji na washirika na watu ambaye tunaongelesha media hii. Hata president saa hii anasikia hii maneno. Na Minister of Roads na Government of Narok County. Tunaambia kwamba tuko na shida. Ukicheza na hii barabara utakosa watu wa kukupigia kura. Kwa hivyo hii barabara iangaliwe vizuri sana.
Pia alternative roads kwa trailers zote ambazo zinapita njia hii. Kwa sababu kuna uwezekano tupatiwe dual carriage hapa ya magari madogo, lakini pia lakini tuwe pia na alternative road ya kupita upande ule ya trailers zote.
First 2 kilometers from junction ya Regiangare iangaliwe sana. Alafu hii barabara ipanuliwe uwe ni lane 4 kutoka na Regiangare mpaka Duka Moja.
Kuna mambo ingine ya economy, ni mifugo na mingi sana zimekufia hii barabara. Wawekewe mahali pa kufuka pamoja na watu.
The government is reviewing the country's intellectual property framework in a bid to strengthen protection, enforcement and commercialization of innovations. The proposed policy seeks to address existing gaps and create a better environment for innovators to safeguard and benefit from the ideas. Speaking during a public participation forum on the draft intellectual property policy and strategy 2026 in Nakuru, Anti-Counterfeit Authority Board Chairperson Nelson Gaishuhie said 6 institutions mandated with intellectual property protection are working to improve coordination and close existing loopholes.
One of the major aspects of looking at it is from the addressing both the demand and the supply. And if we're able to get the stakeholders throughout all the sectors and in the different, at the different levels well educated, then definitely once one has been empowered with that, then they're also able to avoid either selling or even buying counterfeits. So that soft aspect of addressing the business community being affected has been addressed within this policy.
As you realize, Kenya, we don't have such a policy, and Kenya has really advanced in intellectual properties. So we have decided to come together, but now we have come up with a policy for this because it's important. Kenya has really advanced in the sub-Saharan Africa, and that is why we came here to do public participation.
A Nairobi advocate is facing allegations of professional misconduct after Bunge la Mwananchi lodged a formal complaint with the Law Society of Kenya. The lobby group accuses the lawyer of breaching ethical standards, including allegedly representing opposing parties in the same dispute, compromising client confidentiality and withholding key legal documents. Speaking outside the LSK offices after delivering the petition, Bunge la Mwananchi claimed the advocate created a conflict of interest by representing both sides in the same matter, breached client signed confidentiality and refused to release important documents, including original title deeds and court records. Despite receiving formal instructions, the lobby group has given the Law Society of Kenya 7 days to take action on the complaint.
Huyu advocate ni advocate ambaye anafanya ile kitu naita double dealing. Mara anarudi anakula ile pande ingine, ananyanyasa huyu client mpaka anafanya ukora na DCI kuwekea huyu client kesi za uongo ili kumnyang'anya vitu zake, hawezi kumpatia documents mpaka title deeds. Na sisi tumekuja hapa, tunataka Law Society of Kenya wachukue hatua haraka kwa huyu wakili, na wasipochukua hatua tutarudi hapa after 7 days.
Turning now to business news, where Mwalimu National DT Sacco has unveiled its inaugural sustainability report at Mwalimu Towers, marking a major milestone in its drive to promote responsible growth, strengthen operational transparency, and embed environmental, social, and governance principles across its operation. Covering the 2025 financial year, the report highlights Mwalimu National's environmental, social, and governance performance across its network of 173 and 31,000 members. The SACCO says it's reduced its non-performing loan ratio from 8.3% to 2.4% during the period, while also planting 17,000 trees across the country as part of its environmental conservation efforts. The society says it remains committed to responsible stewardship, enhancing member value and supporting long-term financial stability through sustainable growth.
Sustainability agenda goes beyond mobilizing savings and providing affordable credit. It reflects our commitment to improving lives, protecting the environment, strengthening governance, and ensuring that our growth creates a lasting impact for future and current generation.
Mwalimu National is a brand, a national brand that must be sustained, a national brand that actually should serve the members. And we look at even our corporate strategy, the way we arrange our key result areas, the customer centricity sits at the top. Because one of the things that we did learn after going through this rough patch, for those of us who have been here longer, we said if everything that we do does not revolve around member, then there is nothing else we're doing here.
We want to transform our sector because we have come of age. Here, you people, you're in charge of almost, if you factor in the growth factor, you are working on 13%, even if you fall at 10%, Mwalimu next year, we will be an 85 of thereabout SACCO, 85 billion, and that is a lot of money.
Absa Bank Kenya has disbursed 55.3 Kenya billion shillings in sustainable finance during the 2025 financial year, pushing its total green and inclusive lending to 204 billion Kenya shillings over the last 4 years. The lender says sustainable finance accounted for 30% of its total loan disbursements in 2025, surpassing its annual target. The funding supported small and medium enterprises, women-led businesses, youth enterprises, and climate-related projects. Absa has also unveiled a new sustainability strategy focused on expanding green finance, achieving net zero emissions, and strengthening climate risk management.
Ladies and gentlemen, today is quite remarkable. It is a demonstration of strong leadership in sustainability of the Absa Bank. The report is evidence that the private sector is actively helping to shape solutions. And the achievements highlighted today show that sustainability is a strategic imperative that creates value for communities, businesses, and the nation. As government, we welcome and appreciate the commitment demonstrated by many of the partners represented here.
We've channeled 204 billion shillings. Yes, 204 billion shillings on sustainable projects, with impacts coming on the side of financial inclusion, enterprise growth, climate action. And you can see the different categories that we have actually been able to make this a reality.
Elsewhere, Agriculture Cabinet Secretary Mutahi Kagwe has urged Parliament to fast-track the passage of key agriculture bills before the end of 2026 to prevent legislative delays as the country moves closer to the 2027 general election. Speaking during a meeting with the National Assembly Departmental Committee on Agriculture, Kagwe said the early passage of pending and proposed laws will help sustain ongoing reforms in the sector. He also directed ministry officials to provide members of Parliament with accurate, research-based information to support informed debate policy-making and legislative decision-making.
By this time next year, things will be completely different. Most of us in the political arena will not actually be doing the jobs that we are currently doing. It is important for us to be alive to this. So the calendar for the legislative calendar ends for us in December. If we do not have anything, if we want things passed by Parliament, this session of Parliament, and we don't have it ready by December, it is not going to happen. So it is critical, and this is where I want to make a special appeal to our committee members to please support the bills that we have got there, the regulations that we have got there, the amendments that we have got there. We have to get them done between now and December. Otherwise, beyond that one, then you are stuck. And you have to start all over again in the year 2028.
Kenya is set to host its biggest ever Magical Kenya Travel Expo with more than 10,000 delegates from 40 countries expected to attend the event in Nairobi this October. The 16th Magical Kenya Travel Expo, scheduled for October 6th to 8th at Uhuru Gardens, will bring together more than 400 exhibitors and 250 international buyers as Kenya steps up its push to attract 5 million international arrivals by 2027. This year's edition will spotlight digital transformation, artificial intelligence, and the expansion of Kenya's meetings, incentives, conferences, and exhibitions tourism segment.
We work with the private sector to curate the kind of programs they want, the kind of private sector they would like us to bring into the country for that B2B meetings. And the theme of the expo this year, we are focusing on digital transformation and AI and the place of technology, emerging technology in tourism.
This year, there is an intentional focus on MICE, which has not been done in the past. Why MICE? It's because we want to invite our neighboring countries to come and discover what Kenya has to offer, whether it is the Rwandese Bar Association, Ghanaian Bar Association. We need them to know that Kenya has facilities. It has to be a conscious effort so that they come and discover, so that they don't just meet within their own countries. We've had discussions with them. We want to attract them to come for MKTE so that they can see what Kenya has to offer. MKTE thrives on private sector support. Private sector support is even more crucial than government, because government doesn't have hotels.
It's now time for the latest sporting action. Kenya has intensified preparation for the 2027 Africa Cup of Nations with the Pamoja Local Organizing Committee holding a high-level planning meeting at Kasarani Stadium to assess progress and strengthen coordination ahead of the continental tournament. The meeting brought together officials from the Football Kenya Federation, the Ministry of Sports and key sports agencies. Stakeholders reaffirmed Kenya's commitment to delivering a world-class AFCON while accelerating infrastructure development and creating a lasting legacy for sports and economic growth.
Please let us drop this room and be together inside here. And make sure you give us direction, and nobody will blame.
Former Harambee Starlets captain Doreen Nambwire has called on Kenyans to remain patient and continue supporting the national women's team despite their disappointing start to the 2026 Women's Africa Cup of Nations. Nambwire says she believes the Starlets can still qualify for the knockout stages with victories against Senegal and Algeria. Speaking in Salem, Morocco, the former captain also called for greater investment in women's football, saying addressing off-field challenges is key to helping the team compete at the highest level.
A lot of factors zenye zina contribute to success. It's kuingia kwa kiwanja kucheza hiyo game na kushinda is a very small fraction. There's a lot of factors zenye zina to surround zenye zina contribute to hiyo success. So we need to make sure that everything external is also sorted and in check before the team takes to the pitch, and we expect them to deliver and win those matches. So tuna struggle na infrastructure, tuna struggle na coaching, tuna struggle na story kama za allowances. Honestly, hizi vitu zote zinafaa kupatia mchezaji motisha ndiye aweze kuperform. So inaweza kuwa muhimu sana kama if at all we want to compete at the highest level, we need to make sure that we put everything in place to make sure that we create the conducive environment for huyo mchezaji kuweza kuingia kwa kiwanja na aweze kucompete na represent
Kenya's representatives at the ongoing Sekafa Kagame Cup, Tusker FC and Gor Mahia will be seeking redemption in their next fixtures in Kigali, Rwanda after suffering defeats in their opening matches. Tusker will face host Rayon Sports on Thursday, hoping to revive their campaign following a 2-0 loss to Sudan's Al Hilal. Record Kenyan champions Gor Mahia are also targeting a return to winning ways after falling 1-0 to Uganda's Vipers SC. With qualification to the knockout stage at stake, both sides now victory in the upcoming matches will be crucial to keeping their tournament hopes alive.
This game ambao tulifungwa, learn a lot, so now it's time to rectify our mistakes. We had a lot of chances but hatukuzitumia. So right now I think tumeona hiyo mistake, so any chance tukipata lazima tutufunge to end us, and then I think that's the only way ambao tunafaa ku survive from this group.
Focus on the opponent at this moment of the team because they are in a process of building like us. They have new players, so they have to integrate, so they're moving, so it's not accurate for me to be focused on the opponent team. So tactically I'm expecting a team to try to be dominant because they play at home in front of the fan. I think they wanted to get the ball and play to win, of course, but except from that I'm just focused on my team.
Our time together has come to a close now. Thank you so much for watching TV47 Prime. My name is Peter Kamau. Our sign interpreter is Rhoda Nyamai. Until next time, have yourself a pleasant evening.